going to be talking about these two papers, one of which was the translation of Norman's chapter from the Living Mountains, and then the other piece, which was our reflections on the process of translating it. Um, so, and I guess some of the themes that kind of have struck me is that we're both men, and the people that we're talking about, Norman, my Uncle Wilf, and then the only sort of woman that sort of comes into this is Crow, Norman's niece. But there's something I kind of wanted to sort of think about is masculinity and how Norman and Wilf were very humble men. They
Mm.
they achieved a lot, but they were humble. They weren't the sort of archetypal sort of macho men.
Mm.
There's something about gentleness and humility here that I
Mm.
think is really important, and that I think emerged for me in our work together.
Mm.
I'm just going to close my email down because otherwise it's going to be pinging all the time. Um, I don't know as well that for me there was a sense of for me about humility about engaging with Norman's writing because I don't obviously I don't speak Norwegian, I can't read Norwegian, and and it was very clear when we first put the Norwegian into ChatGPT, and it kind of spat out all this kind of poorly translated. Something was lost. A lot was lost there, and I thought, you know, I have to sort of bow down and appreciate your take, your understanding of the dialect of the way Norman was writing, um, and so my job was to try and help get an English version
Mm.
that was respectful of what Norman was saying.
Mm.
I've been talking a lot, so I'll
Yeah, I would also like to point out the friendship part between you and I in this work.
yes,
We invited you. I'm working at a family counseling office in Trondheim in Norway, and my team went on a trip, and we invited you because we wanted to dive more deep into the ecological part of systemic thinking. Um, and because of your deep interest and knowledge about Gregory Bateson, it was natural to invite you. And the team left, and you and I stayed back at the cabin for a few days, and have been friends since then.
yes,
And what I think is interesting is um, how when we are still becoming friends, we still see so many links. For example, that Peter, who was Norman Heitkøtter's father, he flew from Germany to avoid the First World War, and your Uncle Wilf also had a link to the World War. So uh, there are all these links
yeah,
that you don't know about until you know about them. And for example, in uh, hunting reindeer is an indigenous tradition in my village where I come from, or all over Norway, to be honest. And when we are hunting reindeer, we are using binoculars
mm,
to spot out the reindeer. And your
yeah,
Uncle Wilf created binoculars and
yes,
that technology. So
yes,
it's fascinating. And even talking about, I think it was the bluebird.
yes. The blue
Yeah.
throat. Yeah,
And when you spoke in English, I immediately understood in English, even though my native tongue or language is Norwegian. So it's really fascinating to see how we can understand each other in different languages,
yeah,
but on a richer level because we've been working so close with this
yeah.
material.
Another link that is kind of surprising is I live in the East Riding of Yorkshire, and I happened to be on YouTube, and I was looking at a video that was done in the 1970s, I think, or in this local area. How many of the farmers in this part of Yorkshire use a lot of Nordic words, or used to?
Mm,
And so that there's also that sort of Nordic thread here in the East Riding of Yorkshire and North Yorkshire that the farmers use, and a lot of the names Dyke and How and so on uh, from Nordic origins.
mm,
And of course, my uncle was busy buying or get obtaining nature reserves in these places with Nordic names. So it's again, there's
mm,
another connection there.
mm. Yeah, and I think it's important to recognize this, as you were talking about these silent men. Uh, I knew Norman, and he was a really hardy. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Yeah, he could endure hard weather, cold weather, but he wasn't bragging about it. It was just the way he was.
Yes.
It was a part of him.
Yeah.
And the same with my grandfather, who took me on trips in the mountains. There's a story about him when he had been walking 30 kilometers cross country skiing, and he didn't tell that to other or his friends about it, but he almost fainted because he was so tired. But it was just a part of how they kind of it was uh, a stupid thing, but still a way of the silent man who are always kind of sometimes even suffering
Yeah.
not to get attention or
Stoic.
yeah, and stubborn.
Yeah. Stubborn. Yeah. So I guess I mean, we're doing this kind of we're having this conversation really to sort of link the papers together, but also people that are going to be watching this are largely going to be systemic practitioners, therapists, theorists, thinkers, and I kind of I think that one of the things that sort of came through for me is how systemic thinking and concern for ecology can be found in the work that we did as well. That there's about humility, about being appreciative of not only not how Norman wrote, but what he wrote about, that experience and that decision that he had to make.
Mm,
Um, and that sort of links to me about for me about how we pay attention, how what when are we focusing in on details, and when are we having to sort of step back and look at the wider picture, but also there's our own inner processes at that time. So I was thinking about Norman and looking at this baby reindeer, this calf, and kind of trying to suckle its dead mother, and what was going on inside for Norman at that point as he
mm,
was looking at that scene within the wider context of the herd of reindeer,
mm,
but that one infant reindeer, and and how in a way it's lived on as
mm.
well.
And I think that this is my interpretation or thoughts around what was going on with Norman, but I think that uh, usually when reindeer dies, there comes a mountain fox or a wolverine or ravens to scavenge on the
Yeah,
but he buried them. and that I think that might have there's a way of kind of honoring on a there's some kind of empathy that and honoring in that act, I think.
That that hadn't occurred to me, and I think, yeah, that does place that event in a particular way, doesn't it? Because he didn't just leave the carcass.
Mm,
He 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 showed care
mm,
and respect. That's an interesting angle that I'd not really thought about.
mm,
Mm. Love.
mm.
Mm. Which I guess for me is with my kind of thinking is the sort of the sacred unity, the fourfold vision work that I've been writing about sort of does kind of pull me towards that idea that if we're all connected, we're all part of a universe that is there's interdependence, that how important love is, that if we're all kin,
Mm,
then we all love all of you know each other and nature. We should love the
mm,
mountains, the trees, the rivers, the creatures, and each other, regardless of gender, race,
mm,
sexuality, orientation, however people want to define themselves. That
mm,
it's important that we love, and we show that kind of love and respect that that Norman showed in burying a reindeer, or in that. And I think you wrote about that, him carefully replacing a stone that he sat on
yeah.
to preserve the ecology of that place. That's love. That's care.
Mm. And I think the translation process, um, to me, I see some parallels to narrative therapy, where you always struggle to find the absolutely right word, and and things aren't coincident. So you try to and 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 that part of the translation process made me connect with nature, even though we were working with a piece of text. So
Mm,
trying to find exactly the right word also made me connect with the bluebird, for
mm,
example.
mm.
And I can see it and I can hear the ringing when I close my eyes. He spoke about how he darted into the bushes.
Yes,
So, yeah.
yes. Yeah, I could see the sort of flashes of color.
Uh,
Yeah, is yeah, for sure.
mm. And that's I think that's a part of what you call love, when you can recognize these things and describe them so in detail that it almost comes alive.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. I think to step back, I found the whole process to be. You've talked in the past about speeding down, and that this kind of slowing down in a very fast world. And I found the process really did make me speed down, to slow down and really think and really engage with words, the words that Norman used, and try to find the most fitting
Mm.
language and words. But there was a real slowing down in me in thinking about the place, and having visited the Rondown National Park as well, and having a sense of the place and how huge it is and how humbling it is. there was, for me, there was that tension of, or not a tension, just feeling really small.
Mm.
That I'm just, yeah. So that's just for me something about feeling small, slowed down, um, and paying attention in a different way. It was, but also I think it helped that we were working together.
Yeah.
Um, and there was that the friendship, there was the texts, the emails, the Zoom calls, or the
Mm.
video calls as we were. It just seemed to be, and that sense as we were sort of getting through the translation, that it was starting to take shape, and it started to feel alive to me.
Mm. And we also managed, I think, to give the text in English its own rhythm, which is another rhythm than in Norwegian or in my dialect. Um, and it felt important. We spent a lot of time to kind of find the exact right word, and yeah, it was important to find the right words to kind of honor both Norman but also what he was writing about.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I really hope that we've achieved that.